Hello and welcome to this first session of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Ravnica on the Gauntlet. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and I'm the game facilitator for this. This game is part of the Gauntlet calendar. The Gauntlet is an online gaming community. We have 100 plus sessions each month. And all of the sessions use safety tools, and they're generally story games and indie games and OSR. But we've had some people run more trad things or more big things in the past. This is my experiment with that, in part because I love Ravnica. The idea of it is super appealing to me, and that kind of brought me down the rabbit hole of the other magic kind of cool settings and things like that. And I may have gone a little too far on that, but I'm excited to try this out and play this. And I want to go around and introduce our players. We'll have them introduce their characters in a second after I've gone through our cats. But just so you know who's playing, Joel, if you introduce yourself, pronouns, anything you want to say about your play.
Yeah, my name is Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I've been with the Gauntlet, I think, just a little over a year, so not too long, but only played in games so far, and it's been a ton of fun.
Oh, good. Now, have you played D&D before, D&D 5e?
Yep.
Okay,
I
think we're okay. Excellent. I know we're getting all people who have, and I'm the only one who hasn't. So there we go. Jim, let me have you introduce yourself.
Hey, yeah, I'm Jim Crocker. I generally use he, him pronouns. If you're using they, them more generically, that's totally fine. That's not going to bother me either. My history with Dungeons and Dragons goes back to the blue box D&D set. So I have played all 5 versions and basic and D&D and AD&D and all that kind of stuff until 2018. I owned a game store, so I ran 5th edition a couple of times a week for, from when it was released through when that game store closed down, but haven't played it in a while. And so I'm really looking forward to it. It's kind of, if we run OSR, this is the OG SR.
Exactly.
So, but I'm really looking forward to it. I played with Joel, who played in my Urban Shadows game that we played 3-4 sessions of that. Before that kind of I had some life stuff happen and we had to cut that short. But and Robert was the captain of our Star Trek ship for a little while, which was just really, really cool. And Tim, it's great to meet you. Looking forward to playing with you. And of course, Lowell, always an absolute joy to be in one of your games. So really looking forward to this.
Awesome. Tim.
Yeah, my name is Tim. My pronouns are he, him. And I think I've been with the Gauntlet for just about a year. And I've played, so I started out with 3rd edition, or more accurately, 3.5 edition, back when I was in high school. That was what was the hot new thing right around the time I was starting high school. And so I played a ton of that in high school. And then once I kind of got into like young adulthood more, I dropped off for a while, which was very sad. And then I started playing again once the pandemic started. I picked up 5e, and then from there, I think you start looking at just different things you can do in gaming, right? And then you kind of learn about story gaming, and you learn about the OSR. And I think if you're into that idea of story gaming and the OSR, that takes you to the Gauntlet, I guess, ultimately. So that's kind of how I ended up with the Gauntlet. And now I like to play all kinds of games, but I still absolutely love D&D, any kind of D&D. So I'm excited to play with you guys.
And Robert.
Yeah, so Robert, he, him pronouns. Let's see, I've been with the Gauntlet a few years now. I don't know how long. But it's a few years. What's time anymore? Yeah. Let's see, D&D wise, actually, I don't know what version. It's probably some version of 3rd edition. But I originally got my start playing D&D, the version of D&D that came with the Diablo 2 Collector's Edition. There was a D&D mini campaign that came with that. And when we bought Diablo 2 Collector's Edition, the servers were down on opening night, of course. And so what else did we have to do? But I ran a game of D&D. So that was my start with RPGs, actually. And then more recently, I've played some 5th edition, not a ton, but it's been a few years. So, you know, also a big Magic the Gathering fan. I've actually read some of the Magic the Gathering books, so I'm sort of familiar with the lore. So, you know, I like that lore and setting, you know, putting D&D stuff in the Magic the Gathering setting is always fun because you can use a lot of the cards as like backup art. So that's always fun too.
Awesome. I will say, my sister got the D&D brown box in 1976, and that's when we started. She's a little bit older than me, and she taught me how to play. So, yeah. But missed a lot of the midpoints in between with D&D. I'm very excited about this. I'm going to walk through our CATS document to kind of set up what we're going to be doing to give you an idea of how I'm picturing things, and talk about then some other setup. So CATS is our system for establishing sort of a baseline of what we're playing with. And it starts with concept. And the concept we're playing is low-level characters in Ravnica. You have some skill. I mean, second level, you've made your way up the rung a little bit. And while you come from different backgrounds, you share one thing. You share a hatred of Tithios Vek. And Tithios Vek did something to you. We'll figure out exactly who Tithios Vek is here in a little bit, but that is your desire. And while you have a goal of kind of advancing yourself in general or advancing yourself in the guild, this thing binds you together. And we'll talk about some literal ways in which that is going to occur. And one of your goals, because Tithios Vek has influence and reach and is kind of out of bounds for you, at least at this point, is to undermine his works within Ravnica and find a way to exploit vulnerabilities. So that's our general concept. That's our pitch. So in terms of approach, this is a street level fantasy game. Our goal in part is to explore the cities, to kind of get a taste for it, get some things on the table about what it's like, and then add to it ourselves, collaboratively build our world within that. You have that joint goal of taking on Tithios Vek, but you also have the desire to get ahead, to make good within your own guild and whatnot. So there'll be tasks that you'll be presented. And at some point you'll have some choice between some tasks, and maybe at some point you'll take the reins to let's research this. But we're going to kind of start with a little bit of hard frame stuff, missions that you're set, and then we'll branch out from there. I'm picturing that investigation and interaction will also be a significant portion of what we're going to be doing. We're going to dip into your lives. Interacting with your NPCs is the way that you're going to get inspiration in this game. Going and talking to your family, friends, and so on, going and getting them to buttress you. Those scenes are how you're going to get that commodity. My touchstone is Blades in the Dark. That is very much what is in my mind here, in terms of what the kind of style of play, what the feel of play is going to be like. With that, T is for tone. This is high fantasy, 5-color high fantasy. Your heroes, you might be rough around the edges, but in a pinch, you're probably going to do good. Though how you define good may vary from person to person. You're also small fish in a big sea. You're looking for your revenge and you're looking for advancement. I will say that There is a sort of a gritty feel to Ravnica, and I want to have that, but also just the wild magic of the place. For me, PvP is off the table. But if we do get into a situation where like two goals are hitting against each other, then we'll stop and we'll move out to the meta to figure out a way to resolve that. Just want to mention that. Now, the last part is S, and S for me is safety. We are going to be using a layered set of safety tools. I didn't share this document with you beforehand, but let me find it now. Let me grab that. I'm going to put a Google Doc, a link to it in the chat here. Grab that link. Copy. This has a place where we will drop in NPCs. It's essentially a modified version of our Gauntlet Character Keeper. It just has the Lines and Veils safety tab. And then there's also going to be a tab there for NPCs so we can keep track of that. And I can put pretty pictures up there. So you've all played on the Gauntlets. You all know this, but I want to briefly go through this. We have lines established now. These are hard lines, things that we don't want to see these in the game. This is not what the subject matter of the game about. There are other things to play, and there are things that we don't want to see. There are veils, meaning that if we do see it, it's going to be in passing, or we're going to fade to black, we're going to shift away. It may happen, may be mentioned, but it's not something we're going to dwell on at all. And then ask first means that if there's a topic or something that you'd be okay with it in the game, but you do want us to check in first to make sure we're all on the same page. So I want to give you a chance, throughout this sort of session 0, to mark that up, make your choices about lines and veils, and ask first and get that set. We do have a romance chart as well. I put that in. If that's something you're interested or not interested in, you can mark that on there. Lines and veils are really important. Establish the baselines. If there's something that is important to you as a line or veil that we haven't put on there, please feel free to put it on. Or if later on when we're playing something occurs to you, you can always mark it later. So that's our baseline as lines and veils. To supplement that, we are, of course, using the X card. We're going to be using essentially verbal X card or this gesture. While I know that there is an X card tool in Roll20, it's one of those things that kind of pops up and I may not notice it. So I think it's always good for us to draw attention to when we do that. So the X card is used for material you find objectionable, that you find problematic, that you find wildly off tone from what we've done. That's a reason to X card it. There are any number of reasons to mark something as something you want to stop, kind of rewind, go back on here. I want to say that you don't have to explain yourself when you X card. You do it. We kind of step back if we need to, but we don't worry about that too much. Couple of other details about that. One of the places where the X card is really useful is if we get to playing and maybe we've started to lean in towards something that is a line or a veil, and you're like, okay, does the GM remember that that's a line or a veil, or are the players aware of that? That's a good time to X card to actually stop and have us check in on that to make sure that we're doing that. It's a good way for us to have a responsive tool along with the lines and veils. The other thing is, if something occurs in the game a couple of times and you let it go past and you're like, okay, but then at some point you're like, I'm not down with this, I'm not digging it, it is legit to X card it later. You can always do that. Your opportunity has never passed. And then the last one is open door. We have an open door policy here. Open door means that if you have to step away from the table for whatever reason, if your internet goes down, or if you're not feeling well, or if whatever happened in the scene is bugging you, you are you can step away. It'd be great if you tell us maybe if you're going to be back, but you're not required to. That's kind of an important thing to keep in mind, that you can't step away. It also means that if we get between sessions and you go, wow, I do not want to play that game anymore, that game is not my bag, it is legit to step away. You always have the option to do that if a game turns out to not be in your wheelhouse, or if you're not enjoying it. You can always do that. You should never stay in a game that you aren't enjoying. So those are our safety tools, or set of those, our suite of them in a layered set like an onion. Let me talk a little bit about some other minor things to consider. This is our Ravnica. If you know the game world, if you know the books and things like that, it'd be great to have those brought in for color, but it's also the one that we're going to shape. We shouldn't worry too much about the minutia. We're taking sort of the Rich Rogers Star Wars approach, that, if you have some information, something to bring into color, do so, but it doesn't drive what we're doing. And there may be things that we change in terms of the minutia. Two, I have run on Roll20 quite a bit, actually, primarily for a similar game. I've run a lot of 13th Age. There are a lot more bells and whistles with the Dungeons and Dragons setup, the compendium, and a lot of automation and tokens and things like that. So I hope you will bear with me while I get used to all of that. That's one of my goals here, is to figure out how to make the best use of that. I'm going to be using what I like. We're not doing lighting, for example, or any of the fancy stuff, but it definitely want to make a Roll20 work for us. And so it may take me time, given how much we have in there to get used to it. Finally, lastly, about Dungeons and Dragons, I ask you this: if I get a rule wrong, which I will, I'm going to tell you that right now. If I get a rule wrong and it is not crucial to the scene, not crucial what's going on, doesn't like dramatically change something, hold off until we get to a break or between sessions. I love to hear those when we're kind of out of the flow of the game, because often I get rolling really fast and I want to keep things paced and going. So I just ask you to do that. All right. So with all of that in mind, what I want to do now is I want to figure out who Tithios Vec is first. And then I want to have you introduce your characters, and then we'll get to like what your connection is to them. Now, if I'm correct, guild-wise, let me get to my little notes here. We have a Minotaur fighter who has the Boros background, correct?
Correct.
With some fascination with the Gruul, and has run with the Rakdos, so we've got a little bit of connections there. We have a Circle of Spores druid who is with the Golgari, correct? We have a Loxodon cleric who is with Azorius.
Correct.
And we have a halfling rogue who is not guild tied, not necessarily in that loop. Is that right, Tim?
Just a concerned citizen.
No, I did. Over the weekend, I had time to read up on Ravnica, and I had him tied to Rakdos.
Okay, that is perfect. So I have a set of questions, and I'm going to go around and ask these questions. And I'll mention this because some of you know my process for this. I will typically, at the start of a session, kind of set an order that I call on people, and I kind of try to keep that loop going. I'll try to switch who's first chair each session, so you're not always the person who's caught in the headlights every single session. So I am going to start with you, Joel. So, Tithios Vec, he belongs to one of 3 guilds. He is either with the Orzhov, who are, of course, our vampire bankers, undead. They are our predatory capitalists.
Mhm.
He is with the Simic Combine, which is sort of weird science, magic, body changing, or he is with the Izzet League, who value their magic and science above all, perhaps to the detriment of some people. Which one do you think Tithios Vec belongs to? Which one would you like to make as the pick here?
Should we do the Is It League?
Interesting. I like that. Yeah. So Tithios Vec is placed within this guild that like has access to a lot of weird magic and a lot of ability to destroy things. But that also means that he belongs to a guild that has a lot of pull in terms of people want those resources. They want that energy. They want that magic. Jim, given that, like, what is the he's highly placed in the Izzet. What is his background? Like what's the general pitch on who Tithios Vec is?
So I think that his job is he's essentially quality control for them.
Okay.
It is his job to make sure that like any of their experiments that go awry are, well, maybe not quality control, more like a fixer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like when their experiments go awry, he makes sure that that information about that doesn't get out to the other guilds, that anything that's really bad gets properly disposed of. That any scientists any of the Izzet scientists that might have seen something so terrible, they're inclined to go, like share that with someone else. He makes sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. That makes him very valuable within his guild, and for other guilds that maybe have interactions with Izzet that maybe accidents occur. He can also step that way. Let me ask you this: what people does he hail from?
He's an elf. He's been around for centuries.
Okay,
and gotten very good at this job.
Excellent. Tim, what is Tithios Vec's, like, that you've heard of, like the most recent success that he's had, like the thing that he's crowing about right now?
Can you tell me a little bit more about the Izzet League?
Yeah, so they are the group that like they're all about creating magic items. They have access to a lot of the weird powers. They are the Frankensteiners of the magic within Ravnica. There are a lot of artificers and things like that.
Are they the ones that make like the biological hybrids, like the people with like?
No, that's the Simic.
That's
Combine.
Simic. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
They are hard metal and steampunk magic. Like lots of all the drawings have crackling energy of the various persons.
Perfect. Okay. Well, the crackling energy, that suggests an idea. I think he's saying that he's spearheaded the development. Maybe it's not fully developed, but he's saying they're very close to developing this source of magic that will just provide, nearly limitless magical energy to the city of Ravnica. And of course, it's a wonderful thing and there are no downsides.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially we're very close to universal colorless magic that can be utilized in a variety of ways. Awesome. Awesome. I like that quite a bit. Robert, what's the other guild that TTOS has real pull with? Like there's another guild that has his back, that he's done a lot of favors for, and kind of gets that connection together.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning toward maybe the Orzhov. You know, that's the financial backing for a lot of his experiments. You know, maybe he does some things that help them out without necessarily overtly helping them to get that financial backing.
Nice. And one hand washes the other. It makes sense there. Let me come back to Joel. Joel, let me ask you this. What has he been thwarted in? What has he done recently that like got interrupted or got a kibosh put on? What do you think?
Maybe it's something that it was like a deal with the Orzhov Syndicate, where he was gonna develop technology to kind of like transmute you know, something into gold, and like it would have made them so much more money, but it failed and kind of fell through, or you know, was thwarted by a different guild.
Yeah, so there's some valuable resource he was going to provide through the auspices of the It kind of fell through. So he's maybe a little bit like on a little bit of razor's edge with the Orzhov right now. They've still got his back, but there's at least a little bit of tension to exploit. Jim, we have our big guy, our villain of the piece. Who is his right-hand man? And I'm not talking about the velvet glove. I'm talking about the steel fist. Who is Tithios Vex, hitter, enforcer, that kind of thing?
He's got a fallen angel as his, you know, like, gosh, you know, like like she's got one wing, and, you know, and it's black and bat-like, and the other one is just like there's like a terrible like separating scar down her back where the other one used to be. And like if you hear that wing just kind of flap, you know, just it's over for you.
Do you have a name for me?
Give me a second. Let me go. You know what? Let me pop over to my angel name generator here, which I actually had open. She's the Seraph of Chains.
Seraph of Chains.
Yeah, and I think like she's got that thing where she's like draped in chains, and if you hear those like tinkling, like jangling, then like that's the last thing you're ever gonna hear.
Excellent. And do you think she fell from like a Azorios or something?
Oh, I think there are like, you know, like 100 different stories of how she like, you know, all of them more absurd than the last one. And it may be a thing where like if you ask her, she'll give you a different answer each time. That kind of, you know, like that Joker kind of thing.
Excellent. Tim, what's like the word on the street right now about TTOs? Like, what's the most interesting rumor going around right now?
Yeah, I think definitely in the Rakdos Guild, right? The rumor is that, of course, that this new source of magical energy that they're developing, it is actually incredibly harmful. You know, primarily the harm is going to fall on the underclasses of the city, as it always does, you know, and it's not a great thing at all. It's only going to serve to enrich Tithios and his other powerful associates.
And potentially destroy the audiences that the Rakdos desperately need. Okay, I like
That's
that. And lastly, Robert, we have the Steel Fist. Who is the Velvet Glove, the concierge for Tithios Vac?
Oh. Hmm. I think he's got somebody in the I don't know how you pronounce it, Demir Guild.
Okay.
You know, like the whisperer of secrets, you know, that type of like spy level of sidekick. I don't have a good name, but I think it's probably let's say it's probably a goblin.
Okay.
I think he's got, you know, a goblin henchman that I'll let you know when I come up with a name.
A
But
dark,
he,
suave
yeah,
master spy goblin. I kind of love that already. That's great.
yeah, because I think he's, you know, the goblin is good at, you know, playing up the like, oh, I'm just a helpless little goblin, you know, don't mind me, and you know, very much playing up the he'll just be there listening to whatever's going on.
Perfect. All right, that gives us some pieces to consider, to think about as we go through this. What I want to do now is I want to go around and have character introductions. So Joel, I'm going to start with you. I'll have you go through, you know, class, background, any of those traits and background details and things you rolled. Kind of talk about that. Give us the good picture of who you are.
Okay, yeah. I am playing Cirquette. She uses she, her pronouns. She's a Circle of Spores druid, a variant human, Golgari agent for a background, so part of the Golgari swarm. Her personality traits, you know, she's kind of, I imagine looks wise, like very pale, very kind of pale, ashy white hair that's done up in this big, like half bun mess, and has like poisonous flowers, mushrooms, probably like poisonous spiders like crawling in her hair and just kind of growing from it that she'll use like druid craft to keep it alive. So, you know, not the cheeriest person in the room. So she likes to remind people of their inevitable demise and puts her knowledge of anatomy to use by narrating the injuries of her enemies in grisly detail. Her ideal is stoicism. You know, all of us are part of this cyclical march of nature, which will continue with or without us. You know, very much the like rot and rebirth aspect of druidism. Her bond, she cherishes a finger of a family member who was petrified by a Medusa. I am almost positive that, you know, that family member like fell at the hands of our nefarious villain in some way. And then her flaws, she can't help but pocket any trinket or coin she comes across, no matter how worthless. She just kind of likes to collect things as she goes. Let's see. Yeah, so for the feat, I took a new one. I took the Strixhaven Witherbloom Initiate.
Oh, interesting.
So Strixhaven is all about like, here, I think I can, oh, that was Wild Companion, never mind. But, you know, very like poison spells, necrotic damage, little bit of healing, but death and decay and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's a nice way to supplement. So what do you suppose? We have Strixhaven is another plane. So what do you suppose the Magic School equivalent is for the Golgari? Is there like a Magic School within that guild, or is there a Magic School within Ravnica?
I think with how like hive like the Golgari is, I think it would make sense that there's like a school within the swarm, or if you're kind of determined to have magical proficiencies, you're kind of grouped in that in like these large classrooms underground somewhere where they kind of teach you their ideals and their magical ways.
So you went to fungal Hogwarts. Okay.
Very much so,
like
yep.
that. What are you thinking about for your companion? You don't have to decide now, but I'm just curious if you already had a thought about it.
Yeah, because as part of the background, you get like either a little spider or a little beetle. So I imagine I have a quarterstaff, so like it's kind of frame and branching out at the top, and there's a spider like weaving webs all around it, and then probably like some other poisonous animal, like a small poisonous snake that is always curled around her shoulder.
I like that. Anything else we should know about like what you decide to pick in terms of spells or other background abilities or anything?
Yeah, spells. Let's see. So I have
just like what are the big ones that you're like, okay, these are the ones I took because I really want to use these.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The ones I'm looking forward to as part of the feat, I was able to take Tasha's Caustic Brew. So I just spew this like stream of acid in front of me. Speak with animals, be spawn, so I'll be able to make friends with any like poisonous critters I come across. And then what was the fun one? Primal Savagery. So you I turn your claws into like poisonous nails that you can like rake at people with, or you can turn your teeth into fangs that you like bite at people with.
Very nice, very nice. So let me ask you this: what did Tithios Vec do to you? What is the crime that has impacted you directly, or your family, or something else?
I think Tithios Vex kind of gave the swarm. It was actually information that came from like his role as a fixer, and was like there's a threat in the sewers, because that's kind of like what the Golgari swarm have dominion over. There's this danger down there that needs to be taken care of for things to run smoothly, that sort of thing, and really downplayed how dangerous it was. And it Cirquette's we'll say mother led the group of people who was to like go and kind of deal with this low level threat and take care of it. But it was actually these Medusas that were augmented by I already forgot the name. The Is It League in some way.
Okay, so they'd taken some Medusas, they charged them up, and kind of they got loose.
Yep. And all that was basically recovered from that catastrophe where we had sent like a large group of swarm members in is my mother's petrified finger that I carry with me.
And it's probably been frustrating that the Golgari have kind of written that off, that they have other things to attend to, and you've pushed, but nobody has really listened to you. All right, I think that gives us a good sense. We're going to come back to you to talk about like some connections with other characters, but we're going to get the next introduction. Jim, tell us about your character.
My character is Prelate Drintoul. He is a Loxodon, which means that he is a great big elephant guy. I'm a, like kind of look like a humanoid elephant that walks on my hind legs. Like the entire point of taking this character is that you get a trunk that you could pick stuff up with and things like that. And I can use it as a snorkel when I'm underwater and stuff like that. But I am a devoted, kind of like low-level functionary in what is my the
Azorius?
Azorius Guild. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I was scrolling down to a low-level functioning in the Azorius Guild. I am a cleric, and my domain is order. So I am very interested in law and how everybody knowing the rules helps everybody, and everybody following the rules is how you get a good society, and everybody understanding what's going on, and and just sort of kind of maintaining an orderly society. An orderly society is a just society. So my personality traits, I have infinite patience with the dolts and bores I'm forced to deal with every day. That is one of them. Kind of elephantine patience, right? Just, very difficult to get me, to like get me to lose my cool. I mean, and literally mechanically, like I get bonuses against like fear or, like being intimidated and stuff like that. The other personality trait is I always say exactly what I mean, no matter how many words it takes to communicate the particular nuance I am attempting to convey. So like very versed in the law, and like kind of sounds sometimes like he's talking in legalese to be very clear about, to kind of get across what he's trying to say. My ideal is legislation. The law embodies excellence in its precision and detail. And that's lawful. I'm lawful good for I mean, like, to the extent that alignment is going to play a role here. We're all going to role play ourselves, but just that's kind of the tendency is I tend to believe that a well-ordered society with well-written laws will just, people will naturally prosper if they live in a society like that. My bond, I've modeled my career after a highly respected law mage or arrestor, but I fear that my role model might be involved in something illegal. My flaw, I'm incapable of deception. Okay. I'm a terrible, terrible liar, because it's so like, like whenever I, if I testify in court, I have to, I swear an oath that I'm going to uphold the truth and all this kind of stuff and everything. And, that's kind of a value of the guild. And so like, I have real trouble with any kind of like pulling a con on anybody, or, even like little white lies that are appropriate. I have to grit my teeth to, to fib about anything.
Nice. So do you think were you raised in the Azorius? Is that your family kind of born and raised there? Okay.
No, I think my family is Selesnya Conclave.
Oh, the natures.
Yeah. But like I grew up on essentially like penny dreadfuls, like dime novels of the the kind of righteous just paladins of the Azorius Guild. And like since I was like like a tiny little pup, that was my goal, was to someday be a paladin of the Azorius, right? And it's a thing where like my parents aren't angry with me, they're just kind of disappointed.
Just disappointed.
Yeah. They love me, and they want me to do what and if this gives my life meaning, then they're okay with it. But they presume, I think, and will tell me regularly that eventually I'll come back around and come back home, because I'll realize how disconnected from the natural world all of this attempting to put things in boxes will make me. And someday I'll be unsatisfied and come back home, and they'll be able to say, I told you so.
The role model that you have, is this like like capital letter hero in the guild, or is this the mentor that like kind of has become a parental figure or something else?
I have given them a name. It is
Ooh.
Marcus Gregorius, an elven lawgiver, many centuries old, and they spend their time embedded within the other guilds to get their perspective on how best to craft laws that are just, fair, and robust. And laws that are just, fair, and robust, that is the three-legged stool of proper jurisprudence. A law that is fair but is not just is capricious. A law that is fair and robust but not just is cruel. A law that is just and robust but not fair is corrupt. And in knowing these vices, we can find virtue.
Excellent. What did Tizios Vec do to you?
He killed an important witness in a trial, like while I was taking their deposition. Like I saw them electrocuted before my eyes. You know, just like charred to a cinder. And it's one of those things where like absolutely everybody knows it was him, but we have no evidence to prove it.
No evidence, and perhaps to your chagrin, no willingness to push on that, like that.
Oh, I absolutely have been told that I should let it go because it's being handled by people, you know, way above my pay grade, and that I should just you know, I should trust it's being taken care of and stop my inquiries on the subject.
Very, very nice. A certain challenge to your own ideals there in several ways. All right, that brings us to Tim. Tim, tell us about your character.
All right. I wrote a little blurb in the bio. Maybe I'll start with that, and then kind of go through the other pieces. So yeah, what I'd written here is, so first of all, my character's name is Yaros, and he's a halfling. He's a rogue, and oh, nice. I actually thought that was really cool, Jim. Thank you for posting that in there because I liked that. Well, yeah, I'll read the blurb I wrote. Yaros would rather Ravnica did not descend into chaos, but much less does he want to see his city reduced to following the predictable rhythms of law and order. The rich and powerful seem bent on the latter, so Yaros puts his thumb on the scale on the side of chaos. A self-proclaimed master juggler, tumbler, musician, orator, world-class detective, and pretty good card player, Yaros has found a home in the cult of Rakdos. While disdaining the violent excesses of many of his guildmates, Rakdos has given Yaros an outlet for his performative inclinations and ample opportunities for bringing Ravnica's high and mighty down a peg, or several. So he is a rogue. His alignment is neutral. So kind of the way I thought of it is Rakdos is known as sort of this, you know, in the D&D alignment system, like as chaotic evil, but it's truly because he sees that there's sort of more, how can I describe it? I think that Prelate Drintoul's view of the law, if Yaros thought that was actually attainable, he would be all for it. But it's because he thinks it's not, that he'd rather just burn it all down, you know, so to speak, or at least, you know, poke it in the eye with satire, if nothing else. Personality traits. I enjoy testing other people's patience, and I can't stand it when things are predictable. So I like to add a little chaos to every situation. Ideals, hedonism. Death comes for everyone, so take as much pleasure as you can from every moment in life. Bonds. I'm secretly hoping that I can change the cult from the inside, using my influence to help rein in the wanton violence, right? So he's definitely in it more for the performative aspects and the satire and the thumb in the eye to the rich and powerful, but is not into the sort of the wanton violence. That's sort of the other side of the coin of the Rakdos cult. And the flaw is I resent the rich and powerful. So maybe, sort of reflexively he resents them, maybe sometimes they deserve it, but he'll resent them even if they don't.
Okay.
I think he dresses very flamboyantly. He has a hat with this kind of tall plumed feather that he always wears around, which looks ridiculous on him, but he wears it nevertheless. I think he's got the classic halfling kind of curly brown hair, but you rarely see it because he's always got this massive plumed hat on.
So I especially like that that combined with the fact that you have the Rakdos background, fearsome reputation is there. That even though that's how you present, that people are still nervous because they know who you belong to.
Right.
How did you come to be amongst the Rakdos? Were you born into it, or did you fall into it? Like how did that come about?
No, I don't think so. Well, and this would kind of bleed into probably the explanation of what Tithios did. But I think maybe he, I kind of like the idea of halflings in an urban setting, like they kind of like live in like these big, almost like somewhat segregated like tenements, and it's sort of a community, sort of an urban Brandy Hall. And I think his community was wiped out. Ooh. And, so he was kind of, or more or less wiped out, it certainly didn't exist in the way it had. And as sort of a jaded young halfling who felt wronged by society, but who had these inclinations of being a flamboyant performer, well, the Rakdos cult just only seemed a natural fit.
And so, tell me how Tithios Vec fits into that. Like, what happened? What did he do?
Yeah, I'm imagining kind of with what we established, where he's kind of a fixer for when things go wrong. I think, maybe there was some sort of alchemical laboratory of the Izzet that was near sort of this area where the halflings lived, and sort of the alchemical waste was sickening the halflings. And when they tried to do something about it, Tithios just saw to it that anybody who was complaining too loudly, was just no longer a problem. And that sort
complaints, some magic, a sudden fire, all of that, and then
exactly. Okay. And suddenly, this community that Yaros had grown up in is essentially gone, or at least in complete disarray. And there's sort of that same idea of, that everybody knows who did this, but the law cannot touch him. He's untouchable.
Do you have any family left?
I think probably siblings.
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's say I have a sister.
Okay. All right. That's good. It kind of tells us that you at least have some grounding on that outside of just this sort of the Rakdosness of it all.
Right. And I think probably my sister's not guild affiliated. She's kind of the person that maybe keeps me a little bit grounded in the real world, right? Where it's like, okay, I don't really want to burn everything down, but I'm angry and I want to stick it to the man kind of idea.
So. Perfect. Last but not least, let us come to Elroth to Robert.
Yeah, so I'm playing Elroth, the Minotaur fighter. Let's see. Elroth is a member of the Boros Legion guild. Let's see. I guess I'll just go through personality traits. He approaches every task with the same high degree of military precision. Believes dangerous work is best accomplished by an orderly group working with common purpose. Ideals, solidarity, its most crucial act with a single will, marching side by side in perfect accord. So he's very lawful good. Like he believes in definitely upholding order. So that is a big thing, is that the Boros Legion, commonly sent in to prevent the innocent, or at least his idea of the Boros Legion is they're sent in to prevent innocents from being injured or otherwise wronged. Bonds, he ran with the Rakdos in his youth and is striving to atone for his past misdeeds. So the way that I'm kind of thinking that plays out is, he didn't have a lot of I guess family bonds growing up, right? So he kind of ran with some Rakdos friends that he had made, right? You could say like fell into the wrong crowd, but that depends on how you want to look at it. It might be the right crowd. And the way I kind of see that, the Rakdos being very performative based, is it was almost like they formed sort of a fight club type thing. And realized very quickly, hey, if we don't really hurt each other, we can keep doing this over and over. And if you take that to its natural conclusion, it's basically pro wrestling. So, he was a minotaur amongst other Rakdos, and that's how he and his friends kind of had fun and made money and fame and other whatever else. Then flaws, he's just a little fascinated by the ways of the Gruul. So because I think because of that upbringing, he kind of sees the cracks in the foundation of society and wonders like, well, what if it was just not necessarily chaos all the time, but what if there was a little less order? What if there was I don't know. He just wonders about that sort of.
Some might say a little more freedom.
Yeah, more freedom. Because with true freedom, innocence shouldn't really be ever in danger of being hurt. And so a lot of his only level 2 fighter, so he hasn't really like gotten his subclass yet. I think that comes at level 3.
Yep.
But just aiming ahead, going for like the battle master subclass, like very much going for a not parkour, but like pro wrestling-esque fighter. Like he is going to go in there and like all of that stuff that I said, ideals, personality traits, we all need to work together. Like that whole like performative fighting thing is working together. And so he is really good at pushing people around, knocking heads when he needs to, because like a pro wrestler, if you think about it, like if they don't protect their opponent's going to get hurt. So very much that, but also will we wield a great axe, will hurt some people if he needs to.
Why didn't you have the family bonds and connections? Like were you an orphan? Were you raised in different school? Like what was the disconnect there?
I think it was more like maybe had a very disconnected family. Not necessarily an orphan, but might as well have been, like that sort of thing. Like he had a home to go back to at the end of the day. But it was, his home was just a place he ate and slept, more or less, much like a Boros Legion barracks.
All right. So what did Tithios Vec do to you?
I think Tithios Vec, like through his experimentation into this limitless energy or limitless power, that he wants to push. I think there's a phenomenon where certain people, and it's mostly in areas where like probably the Rakdos and the less fortunate and the poor people and all that sort of the people who don't have pull in Ravnica. There's a phenomenon called just they got popped, right? And they're gone. No one really knows. They just assume they're dead. And I think some of the Rakdos that I was friends with growing up, slowly like one of them got popped, and then another one, and then another one, and now that was my family growing up, right? So my sort of the family I ran with a long time ago, the people I had to turn to one by one, I think they've just kind of disappeared. And I think I've figured out, just talking in the boroughs, in the barracks, rumors fly. And it's happened to other people too, right? It's not just the people close to me, it's the people close to a lot of the Legionnaires. And we've kind of figured out that, yeah, that was, that project.
Excellent. I think
Also,
that gives us,
real
yes.
quick,
Yeah.
the goblin sidekick, I did come up with a name. And
Oh,
it's
good.
Brock. And I think like people use his name almost like as an action, like describing like, oh yeah, Tithios grokked that. As in he definitely knows what's going on there.
Nice. All right, so that gives us our characters. We're gonna take our first break here. For first break, I usually take 2 breaks, close to the hour. For this first break, we take 10 minutes, bio, grab food, drink, whatever, and then we'll come back. And then we'll kind of do some connections. So we're going to establish some connections. I'm going to go around in the same order we did, and I'm going to have you choose another PC, and we'll have you establish a connection with them with the backstory cards, which I love to use. I have a big stack of them, and I always end up cutting them down to these ones that are the ones I can use here. Let's start with you, Serket. So let's get you a connection. We'll kind of work with a connection with the prelate. And you went to the prelate to help you retrieve something of personal importance that you lost. Like, what was it, and why is it that you went to the prelate for that?
Maybe we'll say my pet spider that I have, kind of crawling around on my quarterstaff at all times is particularly what is it? Venomous. Because venomous is when they inject poison. Poisonous is when things that eat them die. So yeah, it's a particularly venomous strain of spider that, legally people don't really want around. But maybe like the prelate, there were extenuating circumstances. I've shown, my pets.
I issued you a license for it.
Exactly. Yeah. You did like all the tedious paperwork that, I had no interest in doing.
Nice. Prelate Drintool. Like, I imagine that there's kind of through the network that the 4 of you got together. There are probably a couple of others that have also likewise have this a sense of revenge. Before you met Yaros, you had heard some rumors about him. What had you heard? And they can be true or untrue or however you want to imagine it.
The rumor we heard is that he was questioning the ideals of his guild, and that perhaps if I was to show him, basically, like, they assigned me to try and recruit him. Like we heard that he's like pushing back against all the chaos, and like maybe have even like seen him, like, publicly, like, like keep one of his friends from lighting a shop on fire or something like that. And we're like, okay, maybe this could be someone who we could turn to, who like, and like the propaganda victory of having a former Rakdos cult member become a member of the Azorius Guild would be substantial.
Nice. So all rumor, maybe not truth, but it's certainly out there.
I mean, I think like one time somebody saw him prevent his friends from literally burning a shop down. And like that's the sum total of our, of our evidence there.
I like that. Yaros, you and Elroth have something in common, a matching tattoo or a matching adornment or a matching, object. What do you think that is? And like, what is that about? What does it refer to?
So I think that back in Elroth's Rakdos days, his wrestling days, they were in the same performance troupe. And they had a bit where Elroth, he could throw Yaros really, really far, right? It was sort of a big set piece in the performance. He would just pick up Yaros and just throw him, and Yaros would have a way of course, he'd be playing dead, but he'd have a way of tumbling so that he wouldn't be hurt. And I think that they, because it was wrestling, of course, they had like these gaudy, like glittery golden belts that they wore, shirtless, stripped to the waist with a big gaudy belt around your midsection. And probably Yaros, I mean, I think they both still have it, right? Yaros still wears his around proudly. I don't know about Elroth, but the assumption is he keeps it somewhere,
Elroth, do you think you actually keep it?
Yeah, I think I definitely keep it, though, like it's not Legionnaire equipment, so I can't wear it around, but it's in my trunk.
Excellent. Elroth, you were in a hard situation, and Serket showed up, helped you out, like extricated you from the problem. Like what was going on, and how did they get you out of it?
I think the problem was probably like probably one of the situations where the Boros Legion, was sent in to uphold the law, maintain order, but it was a situation where maybe the Rakdos performance got out of hand. The crowd was believing too hard that it was real, and started a minor riot. And I think Elroth was sort of torn between, do I protect the performers or do I protect the crowd type of thing? And I think Serket came in and I think maybe used some through some means, sort of separated the crowd from the performers, to kind of like take that question out of my hands, leaving me sort of, obviously in her debt, but I think she was the one that sort of realized, like, I was leaning toward helping the performers.
Mhm.
And I think that's when she came in, and I think maybe her and some amount of other people, because I think it was a big riot, and helped take that out of my hands.
Perfect. We're gonna do one more of these for each of you. Sir Cat, you have a recurring nightmare about Yaros. What does that revolve around, and do you save them or do you not in this dream?
I think Circuit has this recurring dream of Yaros essentially leaving their swarm that they've made for themselves and their kind of like hive that they're a part of and that they're safe in. When he burns it all down essentially, and strikes out on his own, and he's kind of all abandoned, all alone out in the world. And I think in the dream she doesn't save him because his self-proclaimed master juggler, musician, orator, he's able to essentially start his own, like as she sees it, his own swarm or his own hive, and gather like a following of people around him.
So kind of a metaphorical, but a weirdly recurring nightmare. Have you told Yaros about this?
She hasn't told him. She's just been very like oddly doing things to get him prepared to be on his own, like teaching him unnecessary survival skills, or like what foods are poisonous and not, when we're like she doesn't do that with other people.
Okay. Prelate Trintoul, when your group first got together, there were a couple of more people. Who was the person of the group that you and Elroth kind of looked up to? Like there's another person, like who would have been a figure that maybe also
okay.
shared your desire to have revenge on Vec?
Oh, let me see here. So is this like someone that was like whatever, like a level 2 character like us who
Well,
was
let's
part of
imagine
our
maybe
group,
like
or
a
was it-
level or two higher, like someone
Got
who
it,
was a little
okay.
more powerful than you, who was in amongst your sort of pact.
Okay, got it. When we first got together, you know what? I think it is. Let's make it let me see here. Let me just real quick go take a look at my guilds and stuff here. Let's make it I want to make it someone from the from Selesnya,
Okay.
from the nature conclave.
Okay.
And she was a human.
Okay.
And ranger, basically.
And what was it about her that would have drawn? I mean, there are some similarities between you and Elroth in terms of outlook with the Boros and Azorius. What was it that made her kind of a figure of admiration for the two of you?
For me and Elroth,
Yeah.
oh man, for me and Elroth, I want to say, I mean, Elroth, if you're into this, like, I want to say we're both just smitten with her. That she was like
That's good.
beautiful and graceful and like, you know, could like disappear like Batman and stuff like this. Like she was just so cool. That like, how could you not just be madly in love with her?
Last question on this then for you, Jim. Do you blame Elroth or yourself for her death?
Wow. Man. I blame myself.
Okay.
Because it was a situation where I stopped Elroth from intervening. Like I saved Elroth's life by keeping him from going in, but that resulted in her death. Are you okay with
Nice.
that, Rob? Does that sound like?
Yeah, I mean it works well because then I can assume that it's my fault.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like literally the only one of us that could stand a chance of keeping you from doing something is me. You know, because I'm whatever, I'm 7'5" and 360 pounds or something like that. So like,
Yeah, maybe
I actually could get in the way of a Minotaur. So
yeah, we're both big, beefy. Yeah.
mhm.
Yaros, not long after you met up with the group and the sort of the pact was formed and so on, a ghost, a spirit appeared to you. What did they look like? And what warning did they give you about Sirket?
Boy, that's an interesting one. I think I think that they took it took the appearance of some kind of like angelic form, and the warning about Sirket is just, I think, was that she's fixated on death, right? Yaros is all about the hedonistic pleasures of life, and you know, Sirket will only dampen hit that experience, right? She's her macabre nature, if this is okay with you, Joel, but her kind of macabre and death, sort of death obsession, it's just like incompatible, and it's going to cause him grief.
I like that. I like that. That gives us a good sense. Does that work for you, Joel?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Lastly, Elroth, before you actually met the prelate, you had heard this is sort of echoing an earlier one we've done, but I'm going to do it again. You had heard a odd or disquieting rumor about him. What was it you'd heard in the Boros circles?
Let's see. I think I had heard that the prelate is willing to give out licenses, or will license certain things for certain people if you do him a favor.
So you heard it just in the boroughs, the very sort of minor corruption, but still.
Yeah, almost like, amongst the boroughs, like that sort of thing is maybe even expected for the
Mhm.
Azorius, right? So, but it might have been talked about that, like, he was extremely prevalent with, or not prevalent, but uh an easy mark.
Okay. Now that you've met the prelate, do you believe that still?
I think I still believe it. I just maybe think that I'm not noticing it, or I'm like, I haven't yet reached the point where he would do that for me.
Okay.
Not that I even have anything in mind, but like, like I'm still like, I'm constantly looking out for like, oh, where is he going to do this? I know he's going to do it, that sort of thing.
Excellent. So the four of you, and we'll eventually come up with a couple other NPCs also amongst your pack, have a pact, and in some ways it's kind of a conspiracy. Something you don't share necessarily with your guild, and you've taken the step of making a pact that actually establishes kind of a bond and a magical connection between all of you. It gives you one important piece of magic. While you maintain the pact, you can, if you're in the same room, you can see the other one, you can speak to them. It's not a group conversation, it is a one-to-one conversation, but it's almost like being able to whisper at a distance, which is a pretty potent ability, but purely line of sight, close range. But the other thing, as long as the pact is up, you may choose one of your weapons, and it is effectively +1, and it is effectively magic. So things that obviously can be only hit by magical weapons, it can hit. And we'll talk about the neighborhood at some point, that you have a place that you meet at, that when you're not on business that you gather up. We'll talk about the dimensions of that. But what's the name, Joel Serket, of the bar that's in that neighborhood?
We'll say the feathered cap.
The feathered
like,
cap.
We were kind of looking for a bar to go to, and once we saw it, Yarrow's pretty much like just beeline right for it. Like, he wouldn't listen to anything else because it reminded him of his hat.
And it's become a regular watering hole for you. What is the owner like, a prelate?
I think they are I want to say that they are like the 9th generation to run this bar. Like, it's been around forever.
Okay.
And they are I think they're young. And like they want to, they're like trying to change, like, like they've served the same ale for 300 years. And so they're kind of trying to just at least modernize a little bit. And it's constantly, they're like constantly fighting their, cantankerous grandfather, who is the kind of the patriarch that rules over the place.
Excellent.
I'd like to make her a woman.
Okay.
So that's, and I think they're humans that have been
Okay.
running.
Human. We'll get details on that. Yaros, besides this 300-year-old recipe ale, what else is like food or drink or music or otherwise is this Feathered Cap known for?
I think that maybe this new owner, in order to try to make it a bit more appealing and fleshy, there's like this drink that they serve. If you ever watch The Simpsons, like Flaming Moe's, right?
Okay.
They serve it to you on fire.
Okay.
And then you have to, but maybe with even more pageantry, right? Perhaps there's even magic involved. Who knows?
Yeah. Little alcoholic cantrip there. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But then you're supposed to blow it out and then and then drink it, and it's very exciting, of course, for Yaros, and is probably exactly the kind of thing that bothers the cantankerous patriarch. So
Excellent. Elroth, what has gone on? What has happened? How have we gotten to the point that these goblins have drawn down on you for, and they are about to go goblin shit nuts on you?
Oof. I think I was having too many of these new drinks, right? And I think they hit me in a certain way that, sometimes even when you can hold your liquor, there's a certain drink that is your weakness. And I think for whatever reason, this one, it just hits me as a minotaur just real hard. And I think I approached maybe multiple of these goblins throughout the night, and I was just I thought they were this friend that I had, back in my Rakdos days, and to the point that they had like, they would go back to their group and be like, this freaking minotaur, like, he keeps on calling me Bant, and I don't know who Bant is. And then, like, multiple of them had that same story, to where they came up on me, and I felt threatened.
And they have clearly identified your drinking crew, and they have, chairs have been pushed back, weapons have been drawn, and the time for talking has passed. So I'm going to bring us to a map.
Yeah, I think on that last round of the flaming feather, I dumped one on them.
Perfect.
I think a couple of them approached, and I just threw it on them.
So can everyone please put a token for themselves on the table there?
Where do we find the tokens?
So what you can do is, I believe, is when you go to edit, you can, I think, you think can you draw from there? I'm trying to remember how we do this. Sorry, it has been a while. I'm trying to remember how we get the tokens on there. Gosh darn it. This was so easy the other day. Then I go to do this. Let's see here. It's not a drag thing. Oh, there. Okay. So, Serket, you were able to do that. How were you able to do that?
Yeah, so on the right, the like newspaper thing where you can look at characters,
Mhm.
hold and click on your character and like drag it onto the board.
Okay.
Fortunately, it's not letting me pull up my character sheet.
If you select it and then select your character, I think you should be able to, under edit, do that use selected token. Let me see what happens when I do add turn. Well, it does give us your name when you do that. Move you down, add turn, print, add turn. Okay. We'll figure out about the character sheet connections after a bit, but I have pulled up the turn order, pulled up the turn order, and I have put you in there so you can roll your initiative, which is your dex bonus, and you can put that number into the turn order marker there.
I'm not able to access my character sheet all of a
Oh.
sudden.
I am having the same problem.
You should, that happens sometimes with Roll20. If you just refresh the page,
Okay.
that
Oh,
should
okay.
do it for you.
Awesome.
It used to happen all the time when we played Band of Blades. Like for
Okay.
some reason you'd click on it and you'd get nothing.
Oh,
Mm.
yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, so it looks like Robert, looks like Elroth has an 18 initiative.
Oh, sorry. I always forget if you click your token first and then do initiative, it automatically puts it in the turn order.
Oh, okay.
Just so everyone knows going forward, because actually it pops up a little, yeah, it pops up a little thing now. It tells you that.
And Yaros, you got 13, right? Okay. So, are you happy with your position on the table? You could have your figure wherever you would like to start here. There are scattered other patrons, but they are moving in different directions. These goblins have kind of, scattered out. It is effectively 5 goblins and one slightly more challenging boss of this little group. So Elroth, you instigated all of this.
I did.
What do you want to do?
I think they drew weapons, right?
Yeah.
It's obvious a fight's going down.
Yeah. They've got blades out.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull out my hand axe.
Okay. Not taking the full battle axe out.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Not the full great axe, just
Okay.
One-handed, a hand axe, one hand free.
Okay.
And I'm going to move over and just attack the closest one to me.
Okay. It's a simple step and you're on him. And there's probably a moment of like a flash in this goblin's eyes of, maybe we should have just left. But they've already got blades out, and they are determined not to let you have the better of them. Roll to hit.
Well, that is an 18.
It's an 18, and I believe that automatically rolled your damage, right?
Yep.
So this goblin is like, what does that look like? Are you full slashing him? Are you hitting him across the head? When he goes down, what do we see?
Yeah, I think I've had a number of these flaming feathers now, and
Okay.
and I was at first I was aiming for his arm, trying to disarm him. But goblins, they're little things. Got a little bit reckless, and yeah, just sliced him and popped him open across the chest.
And his scimitar goes classic style, goes skidding across the floor of the bar, and people start like moving to the exits when that occurs. Saket.
Yeah, Circuit kind of like sees it. She has her quarterstaff like leaning up against the wall right behind her, kind of with her like traveling cloak and whatnot, and was sitting down enjoying a nice drink, and just kind of downs the last of her drink, sets it down, sighs a little bit, gets up and like faces the goblin that's right next to her, and just isn't very like passionate about the fight or like worked up or anything. Is just like, we're gonna do this now. Just either leave or have a nice burial. And then I'll cast Primal Savagery.
Okay.
Instant. So let's see. I think if I just click this. So I do a melee spell attack, which looks like it is a 14.
That will hit against his armor class.
Okay. I do a whopping 1 acid damage.
Okay.
Yeah. As like her claws kind of elongate. And they just still look like normal claws, but like underneath on the nail bed, there's kind of a poisonous looking liquid that's kind of starting to secrete as she slashes them.
Yeah, that kind of hit him with that. He certainly steps back away from that and readies his dagger. Let me pull this goblin that is no longer a functioning goblin off the table. His pal, buddy he was drinking with, will come rushing up towards you and will attempt to hit you. What does he need to hit you there, Elroth?
That AC is 18.
AC is 18. So let's see. This goblin standard scimitar is an attack +4. So we're going to roll RD20. And that is going to hit you. And he does. Where's my notes here? He does 5 points of damage. So he actually gets up on you and slashes you with that scimitar for 5. Yaros. A little bit of chaos for you.
Yeah, honestly, I think I was not inclined to hurt the goblins because I see them as possibly sort of my compatriots and being sort of the the downtrodden at the periphery of society. I guess I don't know how Ravnica treats goblins, but if it's anything,
They're like any other
Okay.
people. They're goblins in a lot of higher positions and things.
okay, so maybe not necessarily that way. These
No.
goblins seem
No,
pretty rough,
these-
and I was inclined to like them. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
they've got gang colors.
Yeah.
So they're very clearly not on the up and up. And to have drawn on you after a few of these things seems a little heavy-handed.
Mhm. I think that yeah, but I think once I see my old buddy Elroth, I see that they've harmed him, and I kind of just decide, okay, I'm gonna jump right in. So I think I'm just gonna try and just sort of like tumble right through the little gap, between my buddy and the table, kind of just pop up with my short sword and stick this goblin who just slashed Elroth.
Absolutely. Roll your damage.
Now, you guys can correct me. Well,
Or hit to hit, rather. Sorry. First.
yeah, I was going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that if I do hit, it's considered a sneak attack in the rules. Is that right? Since there's another ally like right in the vicinity.
Let's look. Is that your rogue trick? Is that one of your things?
Sneak attack. Yeah, it says
Okay.
beginning at first level, you know how to strike suddenly. Da, 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 da. Once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d6 damage to one creature you hit with an attack if you have advantage on the attack roll. You don't need advantage on the attack roll if another enemy of the target is within 5 feet of it.
Okay. So yeah, because he's engaged with Elroth, you can go and get that sneak attack.
Okay.
AC is a 15.
Okay, 17.
So you pop up out of nowhere and you drop him. Like he didn't see you coming, and suddenly he is laid out on the floor. The boss, having seen through the chaos here, two of his fellows get dropped. He looks pretty serious about things, and he will aim up with a crossbow that he is going to fire at you. What is your AC? Unfortunately, you are the closest one to him there, Serket. What is your AC?
My AC is 15.
AC is 15. So that is he will hit you, and he will hit you for 4 points of damage. Essentially, he draws out that clearly got that set little hand crossbow kind of thing, and he puts a bolt into your leg and shouts for the others who are still up to get him, essentially. This one will move over to Elroth. This one is going to step away from acid being spat at him. And this one is going to move to engage over here. Let's do these goblin gang members. First on Elroth. I'm rolling well. I am very happy with how things are going so far. He is going to do 5 points as he rushes up and slashes at you, Elroth. Prelate, you've done nothing yet, but still this goblin gang member comes up at you and goes to slash at you. What is your AC?
I think I probably don't have my shield ready to go here, so it's going to be 15.
Okay. And we'll hit you for 5.
Okay.
And then the last one of them will hit you for 4. Oh, no, sorry, 5. Serket. So you've got 2 of them effectively on you right now. That brings us to Prelate. A little slow, but gets things done.
Yeah, like I envisioned I was sitting there saying, no, please, this is completely unnecessary. There is no need. We can settle this. And like, then the swords come out and people are start fighting, please. And then, and like the goblin comes at me.
Crossbow, blood,
Exactly.
scimitar,
and
hands everywhere.
And so then I'm up out of my seat and I kind of, like just with a kick of my, big flat foot, my chair goes flying. And I turn and I point at the leader. And as I come up, I'm holding like a small wooden gavel painted gold, which is my holy symbol. And I say, leave to their leader.
All right.
And I will cast my command spell.
Okay.
To try and get him to do just that.
All right. So he needs to make a save against that, I believe, right?
He does. He needs a wisdom save.
Wisdom save.
What's
your DC for that?
Let me punch it up. It is 13. Wisdom save 13.
13. All right. He has a wisdom bonus of a -1.
Oh.
There's that moment where that kind of hits him, and he shakes his head, and he shouts what's clearly a practiced command, and he shouts, "Kill the caster." And kind of points at you, like gestures like, forget everybody else, get the elephant in the room. That brings us to Elroth again.
Yeah, so one of them is on me, right? Is that the boss?
No, that is just one of the gang members there.
Okay, then yeah, I'll just regular attack him with my hand axe. So that's an 8.
That is an 8. So that is going to miss. So you take that swing, and you've had a few drinks, and he's small, and there's maybe a little more blood on the floor than you thought there was. And I imagine that there's a little bit of that slippage that occurs there, and he's trying to get in under your guard. Sir Cat.
Yeah. I will activate my symbiotic entity feature of Circle of Spores.
Okay.
So I gain the ability to channel magic into my spores. As an action, I expend a use of my wild shape to awaken these spores. So instead of turning into a beast, I gain 4 temporary hit points for each level. So in this class, so 8.
Nice.
While it's active, when you deal your Halo of Spores damage, I just roll another die and add it to it, which I need to remember to do this turn.
Yeah.
And then when I make a melee attack, I add a d6 necrotic damage to any target hit.
Okay.
Lasts for 10 minutes or until I have temporary hit points.
So your Halo happens automatically, right?
It's an action.
Okay. So what do you want to do? You've got this guy who's engaged with you right now.
Yeah. I don't think I have any bonus action spells, actually. What is this one? Yeah, it's an action. I don't have any bonus action spells to use, so I will basically just kind of move a little farther up to try and get farther away from the boss leader.
Okay.
And like tuck myself against the wall, basically.
All right. Getting yourself in a defensive position so that the other people can get in the way and perhaps intercept.
Yeah.
Okay. The goblins that would have gone on 17, they are no more. So we come to Yaros. You kind of look around to see a situation. You see there's still a goblin engaged with Elroth. There's one trying to attack the Loxodon, and of course you see Serket kind of fall back. What do you want to do?
I think that I figure that Elroth can take this guy, and I just heard that other goblin shouting orders from kind of in the side room there.
Yeah.
So I think what I'd like to do is kind of dive under that table, pull out my bow and knock an arrow, and hopefully, I guess my goal would be, I don't know how you want to handle this mechanically, but my goal would be that I kind of slip under the table and he doesn't know that the shot is coming. I knock an arrow and fire it out from under the table at him.
Well, I'll at least let you draw and take the shot.
Yeah.
There, kind of roll, get your bow out, and get that shot on there.
Sounds good.
So, is that a natural 20?
My character sheet is in the way. Is it a natural 20?
I believe that is.
That looks like a
it's-
double natural 20.
In fact, it's because it automatically rolls with advantage. They were both 20s, if that matters.
So that is wild. So, because I am old school D&D, when you crit, you do double damage. So
Okay.
how much damage are you doing base?
So it says here that I rolled, so it's 5 plus 3. So it rolled a 5 for damage plus 3 for dex. So that was, so it did 8.
Okay.
But where's that plus 2 coming from? Because it rolls a 1.
Oh, that's a piercing crit, which is a kind of a sad extra d6 damage. No, I'm doubling your base damage.
So then that'd be double of 8. So that'd be 16.
16 points. Where do you hit him that he takes 16 points?
Gosh, I mean, how gross do I want to be? Honestly, I think it hits him right in the eye.
Okay.
Just right into his eyeball.
And he kind of grabs onto that and he cries out, still in a fight, but trying to hold himself together as that goes in there. Allow me. Oh, he's gonna stick around for another round. He is going to lunge forward, kick the table, and try to cudgel you. There, Yaros. What is your AC?
When he enters within 10 feet of me, can I use my circle of spores?
Absolutely, 100%.
Cool. So let's see, is it this one? Yeah, so he does a Constitution save against my spell DC,
Okay.
which is 13.
Ooh, he does not make that con save.
Okay, so then he takes a D4 necrotic damage, and since I have my symbiote active, he takes another D4.
Roll me
Basically.
2d4 damage.
Let's see, can you just do /roll? And
Yep.
then like okay.
2d4.
So 5 necrotic damage.
So he takes the arrow to the eye and he staggers forward to kick the table and go at Yaros. And as soon as he moves in, what does it look like? What do the spores look like when they drop him?
I think it's the arrow in the eye that kind of like opening that wound that allowed it to get in. So you see like almost like moss starting to form on the arrow and then kind of like getting into the wound, and the veins around there starting to blacken and the tissue starting to like necrotize already.
And he crashes to the ground. Let me see now. Do that. So this goblin boss drops. And the one who was moving to step in to follow up sees the sort of the vapor trail of the cloud of spores, and he will turn and he runs. We've got one shot on you though, prelate. Will hit for 5. And this desperate goblin who's gotten underneath your guard is going to try for another shot on you, Elroth.
Oh, sorry. So my armor class is up to 17 now that I grab my shield up.
Oh, okay. So 14 plus 4 is still an 18.
Oh, plus
so
4.
we'll hit.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Elroth will take the shot on you. And we'll miss.
Ooh.
And brings it around to you. Elroth, you see that there's just 2. Sorry. Let's do Prelate and then Elroth. I apologize. Prelate, you see there's just 2 of these goblins left, kind of caught up in the heat of this fight.
Okay, so I got that. We all right, so what I'm going to do is I take that that gavel, kind of holding the shield up in front of the goblin, and I just tap it on Yaros's shoulder. And I cast the which is casting a cantrip on him,
Okay.
which is guidance. So as long as I concentrate on it, once before the spell ends, you can roll a d4. Oh no, that's an ability check. That's not an attack.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I will haul my mace out and I will tap my mace with it.
Okay.
And the mace will glow for a moment, and that is ensnaring strike.
Okay.
Which is basically a weapon buff. It's a bonus action to cast it.
Okay.
So I can tap it and then boom, and then I've got a glowing mace, and then I'll take a swing at this goblin, and we'll see what happens, whether that actually gets me anywhere. Let's see what we got here. Let me flip back to my core and do that.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's going to do it. So, and I think it looks like if the text there for the roll shows up as green, that means it was a crit.
It's a 20.
So
yeah.
yes,
if it's red, it's a 1.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. So that is going to hit him for 6 points of bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
And my spell, let me just put that down there. And that's my spell. So next time I hit it, it says a writhing mass of thorny vines, but because I'm a cleric of law, it's like shackles, right? It's like handcuffs and leg irons ensnare him like he's been arrested. And must succeed on a, there we go, that's the strength saving throw or be restrained.
Okay. So let me look up his strength bonus and I will roll. Goblin. Strength bonus of -1. So he already took a nasty hit from your mace, and then he's pulled back and held and restrained by that, and cries out as he realizes the situation he is in. Maybe at the corner of his eye still sees that big spore cloud hovering around. Elroth.
Yeah, I think I'm going to switch to the great axe at this point.
Okay.
And like I was playing, and now we're for real. So I'm pulling out the great axe and taking a swipe at this goblin.
Roll to hit. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's 7 damage.
So that slashes him for 7. and he falls back and he like raises his hand and cries out, "Mercy, mercy!" Gurgle.
Yeah, I mean, I let him live if he's still alive.
You can call me whatever you want. I don't care.
Okay. Then look, you can get away now. You have to act now. I'll let you live.
And given the opportunity to flee out, he will rush. I think we can hear the whistles in the distance of the guards legion being called here, even as there's some groaning that goes on, and it gets quiet. Essentially, by the time this is done, everyone who had any sense is cleared out of the bar, so there's just the owners and staff and the four of you there.
The shackled goblin, I drag him outside, and as soon as the Legion shows up, I say, this one and his associates attacked us in the bar. I'm sure he will be able to lead you to his friends, with the proper inducements. Turn that goblin over. Yeah,
they take down the details. They grab. They have their workmen drag the bodies out for to be taken to the Golgari for reclamation and disposal, that kind of thing. Serket, how are you doing?
I'm a little rough. I'm under half health.
So you took a little bit of a beating. And Elroth, how about you?
Yeah, I'm at half health.
Okay.
So yeah, I took 10.
So two of you look a little battered. Prelate, you've got some a little bit of damage on you, right?
Yeah, but when I return, from talking to the Boros, I look at Elroth and I say, how are you feeling, my friend?
My skin hurts.
Perhaps it is time for us to stop drinking.
Well, for tonight.
Yes, for tonight. Serket, let me attend to your wounds.
Okay, that might not be a bad idea.
And
blood's pouring out.
Yeah, and I walk over to Serket and I, take that gavel and I kind of press it against the top of one of those cuts and I gently run it down as I chant in something that sounds like Latin. It sounds like I'm reciting legalese as I do that. And it glows, and let's see what happens here. There it is. All right. So still figuring out there we go. Did that. Oh, cast at what level?
All right.
Level
The
1.
little pop-ups.
Yep. Cast as a level 1 spell. Boom. So you're going to get back 4 hit points.
Yaros, how are you doing? You're fine. You're not only fine, you were a badass.
Yeah, I think Yaros is honestly still like just chilling out under the table. Like as all this is going on, every so often you just see like this pudgy white hand kind of reach up over the side of the table, feel for a drink, grab one, bring it down. And I think I'm just laying low. It's sort of this idea that like, well, this is the great thing about having friends in the Azorius Senate and the Boros Legion, is we have a little chaos and then they'll know exactly what to do so that it'll all blow over. And of course, also reveling in the idea that I think it proves me right? It proves me right that people in positions of power will just sort of, that they'll leave their principles behind and just take care of themselves and their friends, right? And I'm just sitting under there, grabbing my drinks and just reveling in that thought.
Excellent. If people start to drift back in, and as they do, you will see this figure come in. It is a frog person, but like a big frog person. Like people might call it like describe him as slotty, like in that kind of feature there. He's got almost looks like, I mean, it's a robe, but it's more a bathrobe than it is a robe. But he does have a jaunty hat that's kind of stuck on at an improbable angle on the top of his head. It looks like it ought to fall off of there. And comes in, you've worked with him before. His name is Larsk, and he is an informant. And you see his tongue kind of run along his lips, and he sees you, and he comes waddling over, and he says, "So, this looks like you're a bit of a mess here. All cleaned up now?"
I cannot help but notice that you arrived just when the mess was over. How long have you been waiting outside?
Uh, it is my principle, a long lifetime established principles, that when I approach a building and I hear screams inside, that I do not enter the building. This has served me well throughout my days.
You are clearly here seeking something from us. What is it that you would have in exchange for whatever it is you know?
I owe you a debt. Well, imagine that you helped him out in a situation. And so I have some news about a certain highly placed figure that is not particularly a friend of yours. Would you like me to tell you here?
Sirket will grab like one of the drinks that Yaros's hand was probably like about to reach for, and like move it and put it in front of Lars and say, like, why don't you have a seat and join us?
I will absolutely do that. Let me get one that is properly fashioned to accept my buttocks. And he will grab a big chair, brings it over, and he says, "Your friend? He is in an upset. He has put word out amongst his people on the ground to be on the lookout to find a person by the name of Vendaga. I have no idea who this Vendaga is, but Vec wants them. And that suggests to me that you might wish to find them first." Is that worth it?
We will not know until we find this person and verify the veracity of your information.
You are truly a pendant or pedant. I can't remember. It's so hard with that. But thank you for the drink. A little bit of backwash in there, I think, but quite tasty. Thank you. Well, I leave it to you then. And good luck and good hunting. This information is fresh, so you may have a jump on things.
Where do we find them?
Well, I have no idea about that.
Ugh.
You're
Well,
very clever, smart persons of the world. I expect you will do well.
I've always said you were a fine judge of character, Larsk.
I am. Well, I will be taking my leave. He taps his hat. And I will see you later.
be careful not to step in the blood on your way out.
There is rather a lot of it.
It
Some of
happens.
it's yours, as far as I can tell.
This is inevitable.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But goblins get messy, you know.
He puts his fingers up and he heads out. And I think that's where we've got our lead, where we've got our start for next session. That's what we're going to take up. And we'll also take the chance at the start of next session to talk about, like, who are your other friends, what's your network, that kind of thing. And we'll do a little exploring of that side of things. I am going to do sort of incremental levels up. At a certain point, I'll say, go ahead and level up. So we're not going to be tracking XP on a granular level, if that's okay with everybody.
And milestones are awesome.
Yeah. I would like to do just a quick stars, particular things you liked about the other characters or details you're interested in, and then wishes in the sense of, this is what I'd really like to see for my character, or these are things I really like to see in sessions going forward. Joel, do you mind if I start with you on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Stars, I mean, I think everyone had like really good characters, to kind of pull together, like the backstories, the kind of like characters you came with it, flavoring like the spells to match your cleric, or starting in one guild and then kind of like working your way up to another and that sort of thing. I did also like the backstory cards and how that kind of generated just quick and easy backstories between people without, I don't know, rolling on a bunch of tables or taking a bunch of time to like think about stuff. So I thought that was really good. So I'm looking forward to kind of, where the future sessions take us. As far as wishes, nothing that I can think of necessarily, for my character specifically. Okay. I'm just kind of looking forward to a revengey, D&D romp session through a big city. I think that's going to be fun.
Okay. Perfect. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, stars to everybody. This is going to be a super fun game. I'm sure. I can tell. Big props to Robert for bringing pro wrestling into this, for somehow managing to import it into this game. I know, we have played Worldwide Wrestling together before, and I'm very glad that like Minotaur is perfect pro wrestling character. So props to that for bringing that in for sure. Joel, stars to you for kind of like, I'm just getting this idea of Circuit as she's just kind of like languid and like not necessarily, she's not necessarily like above it all, but like just, oh, well, I guess I got to deal with this. And the kind of the way that you personified her in the bar fight there was very cool. And I'm looking forward to finding out more about her, but I really like that kind of characterization of her. Tim, Yaros like slipping under the table and stuff like that, being very roguey is going to be, and like, that's going to be a lot of fun with your, like part of the fun of D&D specifically is trying to find ways to use the rules effectively and stuff like that. And the fact that you were like, like angling for sneak attack right from the jump. That's the right way to play a rogue. So that was cool to see that we're going to have some of that happen in there too. So wishes, I would love it if we get some of those kind of cutaways to what the big bad is doing, or like hints of what he's doing, or
okay.
the kind of like the movie style thing where the heroes are all going about their business. We cut away and he says a sentence or two or speaks to somebody in the shadows or something like that, so that we can do, I mean, I think we've all played long enough and we're all mature enough players to absolutely have some of that like fun player knowledge that our characters are not privy to. And I think that will help reinforce the this idea that there's like a BBEG, right, that we're all kind of united against, and his plans are going on while we're doing our thing. So I would love to see that if you're inclined to do that.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's great. That is a neat call, and I think fits with the genre. Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really a lot of fun. I had a great time. I loved everybody's characterization. So stars for all of that. And also for, I think, just the process that we went through to build those connections, I think helped with that. And so Lowell, thank you. You do a wonderful job with that. And thank you for bringing that into, that's not necessarily like something that would always be the prelude to a 5e type of game, but it makes it so much fun. So it's great that we have the time to build those connections and dig into our characters. I think there's, with any D&D character, and with the guilds maybe even more so, there could be a danger where you're just sort of playing a sort of a cardboard cutout of like what the guild is. But I think that all of our characters have some nuance, and that, I think that came through from that process of building the connections and the way that we were really able to introduce our characters and let that process play out. And so that's really exciting for me to see, because Yaros isn't even the character that necessarily I thought he was before we started playing, you know what I mean? And so that was really fun. Yeah, and I think wishes is just to spend, just to have some more opportunities for us just to kind of role play among the party. I think that could be a lot of fun, but because we've spent the time establishing connections and relationships. So I think there's a lot of good opportunities there.
Awesome. And last but not least, Robert.
Yeah, I think stars, I think the combat flowed really well for like every campaign or every multiple session D&D thing has like the first combat, and it can get really slow. And I think this combat flowed really well for like our first combat, basically. And also, like, as far as the combat went, I think, Tim, you helped a lot with Yaros's flavor of, adding flavor to that combat. I mean, that's what I love that stuff. I've been watching a lot of like Dimension 20, like D&D type stuff of just, a lot of characters that add flavor to the combat. And that's what I really love out of combat. So I love a lot of flavor out of the combat. Wishes, I think personally, I need to use more of my abilities. Like I held off on my second wind there. Like, I think especially my character being my character, who he is, like a pro wrestling minotaur, need to just go all out and just burn him if I got him, use my abilities and just hit him hard.
There is a little bit of that JRPG potion thing where you're like, I don't want to spend this,
Yeah, end up at the end of the game with 99 hyper potions. Yeah. Oh yeah. And also kind of echoing what Jim said, like we all built this backstory of like, what did Tithios do to us but like what is currently happening? How is that currently affecting us? That sort of thing would be good to know. Give us more motivation to pursue him if we didn't
Excellent.
already have some.
Yeah, we'll turn those screws. Thank you all very much. I enjoyed myself, and I appreciate everybody playing along with me to get used to that. Like what I need to do in terms of tracking what I need to have written down versus pulling it up on the screen for the monsters and things like that. So that's all practice and learning. I am going to stop the recording. Oh, actually, before I start the recording, I'm going to go over this at the beginning of next session, but I meant to do this in the mid session, just to mention this so everybody's aware. We have lines. We have a line on sexual assault and torture by the PC. And then we have veils on harm to animals, which I assume means animals versus, say, monsters.
Domestic animals, yes.
Domestic animals. Okay, good class. Okay.
Cats, dogs, normal horses, stuff like
Okay.
that.
All right. Harm to children, homophobia, PC betrayal, and sexual content. So those are all veiled things. And we'll go over those. If you have any things you want to change with those, you can add to that or change as you wish. We'll go over that at the beginning of next session. The other thing is probably not next session, but the session after, I'll check in and make sure that you're happy with the choices that you've made with your character. And if you do want to make some changes, you can make that. So don't feel like you are, I think I've said this before, but don't feel like you're set in stone. Like if you've made bad choices, or choices that you feel are suboptimal to the way that I'm running the game. I want to give you a chance to play a couple sessions so you can see that. All right, now I'm going to stop the recording.